Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, guys, we're talking English. The very either you do well or you don't kind of subject. Anyway, so today I'm gonna teach you guys exactly how I went from a 3 to an 8 in English language. Basically, the best tips possible. If you guys want to watch and listen to my amazing grand tips, keep watching. If you know in English that you are always constantly getting a grade that you don't want, either you fail or you just don't get the grade that you feel that you can achieve, you need to figure out your weakness in English, because English, I feel like many people will start at a really low point and then improve. Maybe you don't pick up decent quotes while you're analyzing, you don't add enough techniques, your structure is incorrect, whatever it is. You can do that by looking through your mocks. Notice there's something that's recurring. What is it that I'm not doing well at? Ask your teacher for feedback, or if you don't have anything to go off, do a past paper at home, like closed book, and just see what you're capable of, and give it to a teacher and ask her to harshly mark it and give you like critical feedback, and from there you know what your weaknesses are. So after you figure out your weaknesses, the feedback that you should be considering when you do more practice papers in English. If you obviously don't know how to improve your writing, 1, listen to your teachers in class. 2, look at mark schemes, especially in it, like the first 4 questions in each paper have a mark scheme that has like model answers for each band of marks. Look at what they're pulling out of like the source, and look at how they're able to judiciously reference, i.e. perceptively pull out quotes that not many people will pull out, because your examiner is looking for something different. When they're used to seeing people pull out the same recurring quote, they're kind of bored. So when they see something different, it kind of automatically bumps your marks up. You guys need to know, when you analyze quotes, do not pull out like 2 sentences worth of, like 2 lines worth of quotes. You don't really need to do that for each paragraph. You can even analyze a word and analyze it in depth, and the way to do that is literally look at the word and ask yourself, what is the writer trying to convey? What kind of emotion are they trying to show? What's the atmosphere they're trying to pull out? What are you able to tell from what the writer is saying from that specific word? You keep saying why. So you analyze it, and then you keep analyzing it, and you keep analyzing it, and you can even use another word to back up your analysis. For the structure analysis questions, which I feel like a lot of people struggle in them, you need to be aware that you do not need to analyze language. You will not get any marks for it. So if you analyze the metaphor or the simile in a structure analysis question, you're not going to get any marks. You need to analyze structural techniques, and you need to focus on the beginning, the middle, and the end of the extract, and how the focus shifts throughout the extract. The word focus, shift, zoom needs to be in every single paragraph of yours. You can quote words, but you don't analyze the words. Analyze what the writer is trying to convey using structural techniques, i.e. flashbacks, chronological order, speech, length of paragraphs as well, and the tone throughout the extract. Literally, how I'd say this for that question, you need to have 3 averagely sized paragraphs: beginning, middle, end, focus, shift, zoom. Literally, that's what you need to do. If you're also not sure for how to maybe structure your answers for like the analysis questions, ask a teacher for like a skeleton or like a model for how you should start your sentences and then what you should add throughout. For example, I always learned that in the language analysis, my teacher would always make us say, this connotes, this has connotations of, this means, the writer is trying to imply, etc, etc. If you are struggling to kind of structure it yourself, do use those as like a guidance for what you should be including in each paragraph. As for paragraph length, as for like answer length for each question, if you get a question that's about 8 marks, you should be answering about 2 to 3 paragraphs. If it's 12 marks, I would say 3 to 4 paragraphs. 16 marks, I would also say 4 to 5 paragraphs. and the question asks you about a certain thing, analyze quotes that refer to that question. The question here says, describe how the writer uses language to describe the Hartop family. You literally pull out any quote from here that describes the Hartop family. So for example, I described the dad. This is the quote that describes the dad. Don't describe anything irrelevant. So for example, you talk about the van lamps here. That's completely irrelevant to the Hartop family themselves. Don't add so many quotes, because most of the time they can be irrelevant. If you zoom in on keywords that the examiner is looking for, that's where you get the marks. Literally, I know that analysis questions are very, 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 very tedious. The best way to improve with them is literally by practicing and looking at what the mark scheme wants, listening to your teachers, having a relevant structure and answering the question with a relevant answer, and thinking you're in your head what is different to what other students would write, because something that's different and perceptive will get you marks. For example, for me, I literally wrote down every single question. This is paper 2, basically every single question on that paper and everything the examiner is looking for. So then when I obviously do the exam, I know what I am supposed to include and what I don't need to include, so I don't waste my time. Past papers, I would sit down and open an AQA paper, and this is like a time where I used to struggle in English. However, I kept at it, and when I say to you keep at it, you need to keep at it. Kept practicing past papers, like here, or over here, and the more you practice, the better you will get at this. Was I looked at the mark scheme and what is the mark scheme exactly looking for. I then understood what the mark scheme wanted for the highest mark answer, and I basically used the way that the mark scheme kind of wrote things and added it into my answer. Obviously, the mark scheme is only a sample answer. It's not a full answer, so don't think that that's a quantity that you should be looking at. It's not. Now this is the part where I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I enjoyed it a lot more. This is either, so paper 1, it's either story or description. Obviously, depending on each paper, you can find either one easier. You plan your story/description. I took this description and literally, I don't know, my English teacher told me this, you split the diagram into 6 or 8 parts and look at all the little details on this man's face or the diagram. And obviously I've done it all here, so then I know when I start writing my story, I can make a whole paragraph on the fact that he is isolated. I can make a whole paragraph on the upper part of his face. I can make a whole paragraph on his beard. Literally, when I say to you, if you're doing a description, zoom in on the details. If you imagine that there is a piece of mold on the bloody concrete, you write about the mold on the concrete. Any little detail you see, if there's a strand of hair falling out of the window, write about it. Also, imagine yourself stood there and use your 5 senses. Describe every single thing you can hear, smell, touch, see, taste, everything. If you can taste the sumptuous meat pie in the air, then write down that you can taste it. Obviously, professionally waffle. So yeah, make sure it makes sense. The examiner knows what you're saying, and that's just really the important part. Also, less is more with these long questions. If you can describe something in really good detail with a page and a half or even 2 pages, that's really good amount. I remember my English teacher saying she gave someone 40 out of 40 for 1 page. So if you're waffling 3 pages or 4 pages, an examiner's gonna read a lot of long answers, and it gets to a point sometimes where it's quite tedious. The less they read, they're gonna feel a lot better. So at the end of the day, it is quality over quantity. The story part, I'd always say that your story needs to answer the question, and if the examiner can't figure out what's happening in your story, then they're not sure if it's answering the question, and they don't know you personally, so they're not going to care. They're just going to be like, okay, you're getting marked down for content and organization. Obviously the structure is very important. It does not need to be a full story, beginning, middle and end of a story. It can be an extract, it can be from the climax of the story, it can be from the beginning of the story, or it can be from the end of the story, as long as it's relevant to the question. Do not write the full story, because the examiner is not looking for that. The examiner is looking for a nice, well detailed, well structured, and a story full of literally techniques. literally language techniques, anything, good tone, good phrases, good words, like metaphor, similes, juxtaposition. Literally they look for everything, anything you can add, zoomorphism. What I did with my stories, I used to, obviously I did a mock. She obviously wrote her own copy of like her answer to the paper. What I did is I asked her at the end of the lesson to photocopy her answer, and I took it and I literally memorized everything she wrote in there, and then I did a practice paper and did it with the same tone as her, which I'll show you guys actually now. I was doing a past paper and said write a story about a difficult person. I literally did exactly how she did it. So this is literally the way my English teacher writes things. I did a short story in the same style as my English teacher to obviously see how she does it. I basically copied what my teacher did and applied it into my future mock. So when you're writing a story, please don't write the script of an episode of Riverdale, because your teachers are not stupid. They know, they are also human beings who probably have Netflix and have probably watched Riverdale, you know.
Whatever you are good at, there is a 6-year-old Japanese who is better at it than you. So don't be full of yourself. That's
Now for paper 2, this is the transactional writing. You'll either get an article, or you'd have to write it an article or a magazine or whatever, I don't know what it is. Make sure that it is as dramatic as possible. Like when I mean dramatic, I mean dramatic. Add whatever you can add. If you have a point, you need to, for example, you're either going to disagree with the statement they give you or agree with it. If you agree, strongly agree, and if you disagree, strongly disagree. It's not like a history essay where you're arguing and it's like both-sided and you're literally you're writing a magazine with a very strong opinion. You don't have to do it from your own opinion. You can create a character in your head. For example, this is a question that we had in one of our mocks. It was like, what do you think about animal freedom? Animals should be free. As an example, you can literally pretend to be an old man who has a pet dog, like create an opinion of that man, be as hyperbolic as possible. I mean, be as hyperbolic as possible. You need to have statistics, which is really just make up any statistics. Don't talk about things that everyone talks about. If you're going to talk about celebrity body confidence, every single person is going to mention Love Island. However, if he's mentioned something like Cosmopolitan or Vogue or any, for example, influencer or YouTuber out there that's not very commonly known, make sure the examiner can also understand the point you are trying to make. And this is why you should have a really strong argument. You either are for it or against it. If you're in between, the examiner can't tell what point you're trying to make. Stories and like transactional writing, etc. And descriptions, you need to add as many techniques as possible. If you start your thing with a triplet, you're onto a winner. If you start it with a one-word sentence, you're onto a winner. Start it with anything. For example, here I wrote dull, tarnished grey, time has destroyed you. The best way to obviously be able to gather really good phrases, obviously either steal from your teacher or steal from your classmates if they're nice. Or, this is what I did, I literally went through, and I used to read books a lot I tried to read a lot of books in year 11. I used to read books that I knew that were quite detailed in descriptions, and I used to take phrases out of these books and I used to add them into my notebook. I actually made a page and wrote high-level sentences over here. I literally wrote all of these phrases down. I pulled them all out of books, and I swear to God, in my mocks I literally memorized every single one of them and literally threw it in. Looking for like sophisticated language, Google is the one. This is what I used to do. I look up words on Google and then we'll look up their synonyms. Obviously I have to make sure the word is the correct definition. If they sound sophisticated, I'd literally write it here. So for example, sumptuous means expensive looking. There's also a YouTuber called Stacey Rie. I used to watch her a lot for English language. She has a playlist for English language, like for the longer questions. Another thing is also useful to engage the examiner. A lot of direct address, you is really important. It's punctuation, throw in punctuation, throw in a semicolon. Obviously, it's kind of dark outside, but I finally finished waffling. Like, I've been waffling for ages, but it is over. So I hope you guys have found this useful. Thanks for watching to the end. I waffled for a long time, but it's worth waffling because my advice is amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, and subscribe, follow my social media, check out my Spock, and pretty much it really. Bye.